Shade houses play a crucial role in modern agriculture, providing protection against harsh weather conditions and creating an optimal environment for crops to thrive. This presentation explores the ins and outs of shade houses, from design, construction, soil medium compositions to propagate successful crop cultivation. Shaded cultivation is integral for sustaining food supply and enhancing sustainable farming practices. The Ministry of Agriculture, through the National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute Narei, is constructing shade houses across the country, benefiting farmers, schools, non-governmental organizations, women and youths. Shade house cultivation is an integral part of Guyana's role in helping in the realization of CARICOM's Vision 25 by 2025, and through President Ali's Agriculture Innovative Entrepreneurial Project that has involved more than 300 youths from across the country. Small farmers are also being provided with help in the establishment of shade houses in their yards or on their farms. Overseeing the AIEP program and Narei's assistance to the nation's farmers is research scientist at Narei, Mr. Premdat Beecham.
We recognize that due to the impact of climate change, it's so difficult to grow crop these days. And with shade house cultivation, it's an opportunity where crops could be grown throughout the year during the heavy rain period or when we have extremely high sunshine hours. Now with shade house cultivation, the objective mainly is to produce quality produce, fruits and vegetables to meet the demand of the local market and of course to an extent for export. Now with this initiative where a lot of young people would have approached His Excellency and he started this program, the AIP program, where currently we have 54 shade houses of this type of structure is built at Narei. So these are structures that are basically built with wood, and we have the shade plastic and the shade net. The shade plastic and the shade net serves to reduce the light intensity from affecting the crop directly, as well as the heavy rainfall that may have happened during the crop life cycle. So with the shade house, this structure here basically it's a 40 by 90 structure, and it's the design of the shade house basically. It's a police cap. Of course, there are quite a number of different types of shade houses. This one here is the police cap, where it allows the hot air to escape once the temperature would have increased. So it creates an environment where crop could grow without any stress. Now, on the shade house, we had difficulties to grow crops, especially in the open field, due to the high incidence of rainfall and the extremely high temperature sometimes. It affects crops directly in the fields. So with shade house cultivation, it gives us an opportunity to grow crops throughout the year. And one of two of our main crops that we normally grow here under the shade house is the high value crop. That's the cauliflower, broccoli, and carrots, which once put them into the open field, it has serious issues in terms of the growth and development. So with shade house cultivation, as you could see here, these are some cauliflower that are in their productive stage. They are currently heading, and it takes roughly about 75 days to reach this stage. So with shade house cultivation, we could achieve our main objective is to grow crops, especially cauliflower, broccoli, and carrots throughout the year to meet the demand that we have in the local market.
Constructing a shade house is simple, but requires some important factors to be in place for a successful venture. Once Narei is contacted for help in the construction of a shade house, a site visit is done to ensure the suitability of the area chosen.
Now, in order for farmers or students who want to venture into shade house cultivation, some of the critical issue or some of the important things that we need to take into consideration. One is the site selection. When we're going to go into our construction, we must choose a site that has readily available, the soil type is good, there's no flooding, And we must have an irrigation supply, that's water, to irrigate these crops. Now, there are areas where they are prone to flooding. Once you have that condition, it's difficult to set up a shade house. So we must take into consideration those important factors. The type of shade house we're going to set up. We must maximize the sunlight. The shade house, it could either go in the direction of the east-west or north-south. Once you have single unit shade houses, east-west or north-south, they are good orientation. Once shade houses are clumped together, a north-western direction, it's ideal. One, the light intensity we have to maximize, as well as the wind flow. Because if you know, most of our shade houses, they are open structure, where basically we only have the plastic and the net to protect. So it's basically a protective structure where we grow our crops. We currently grow almost 16 different types of cultivars, mainly for our local market. There are various types of shade houses. We have the commonly shade house that we have that is used throughout the country, where we have the design basically is the police cap, where it allows hot air to escape, and that's one of the most common types of shade houses. And also we have the tunnel houses. These tunnel houses, they are metal frames equipped with, you could either use a plastic or your net based on the type of cultivars that you have, because not all type of crops require the same light intensity or the same shade. So that will vary based on the crop that we have under the shade house. The construction also, we generally construct boxes below the shade house above the surface. We have the boxes on the ground that is about 8 to 10 inches, and we normally fill with our potting mixture, or the mixture that we normally grow our crops. And we have the elevated structures. The elevated structure is about approximately 1 meter above the surface of the ground. These structures are mainly used when we have problems with our leveling of land, where we have areas that are prone to flooding. The elevated structure will work pretty well, because not all the areas that we have shade houses, we have the luxury of having leveled land or land that are quite high. But sometimes a farmer may need a shade house and he doesn't have that luxury, so it still could work, but we need to use the elevated boxes. That's about 1 meter above the surface of the soil. Some of the materials used for construction of shade houses, we have here that these typical shade houses that we have currently. We use hardwood, which is the 4x4. We use different types of rafters and stuff like that. But a farmer may want to go into shade house cultivation. However, you don't need to use these types of materials. You use materials that you have readily available in your location. You may be somewhere in the, on the highway or in the hinterland region, and you want to go into shade house cultivation. Yeah, but then you don't have the materials that we have the luxury of having here on the coast. But then you can use these posts, or when you wallaba, or when you cut any materials, could also be used. The important thing is that once you have the shade plastic and the shade net, any structure could work. Once it's sturdy and it can accommodate the shade net and the plastic, and different sizes, of course. The sizes would always depend on the dimension of the plastic and the nets. Most of the plastic that we have on the market right now is about 14 by 100, 14 feet by 100 feet. But you have some different sizes, 20 by 120 by 150. But it all depends on what you would want to use as a farmer, or based on your budget and stuff like that. So the size of a shade house will always depend on the farmer's choice, what he might want to construct and what materials he have available on the time. But wood is a typical structure here that we have, and of course we have the metal structure, but those are imported. But what we're promoting now, and it's pretty much low cost, it's pretty much could be eased on the farmer's pocket, where a shade house of this size probably costs $1.2 million from construction, including the boxes and the soil mixture. Okay, with this structure here, as you could see, we have the UV plastic, which is above the shade net. The shade net is below. With this type of arrangement, it gives us a pretty good longevity of both the plastic and the net. You find that the plastic is quite durable. It will last, let's say, around over 4 years to 4 to 5 years, because we had plastics that gives us 5-year services, and that's pretty good. And of course, once the plastic is above the net, it protects the net as well. But then it gives you the real effect of having shade, that is to reduce the light intensity by various percentage, and in this case it's about 55% reduction. Now, the soil mixture to grow vegetables under the shade house. What we have here, we have a mixture of a composition of paddy shell, fresh paddy shell, black sand, filter press, and burnt paddy shell. Now, if you could recognize here, we have a pretty much loose materials that could grow almost any crop. Now, with this type of materials, it assists us with aeration. It's not prone to waterlogging. So once we have this type of substrate or these materials, and of course these materials is not limited to the paddy shell or the black sand or the filter press. Now, let's say you're in a remote location, whatever organic matter you have, composting, pen manure, all could be incorporated, because pen manure and other composting helps to release nutrients very slowly, so the plants could take advantage of it over a period of time. But with this type of materials or this soil mixture that we have, proven to work pretty well, because our composition, it's almost evenly distributed, where we have all the components are pretty much on the same different in terms of the percentage used. So this has proven to be very, very effective for us. So over time you need to replace, because you cannot keep using the same materials all the time, because this type of substrate that we have here, more than likely we will have over time diseases, nematodes and stuff like that would occur here. So we need to replace, sometimes we need to treat or replace with new materials. So this type of arrangement that we have here has proven to be very, very good for our crop growth, and we have it almost 2 years, and it's doing pretty well for us at this moment. Here we have a sample of what we use as the soil mixture. Now this is the burnt paddy shell, the ash, the fresh paddy hulls, and we have these are the brown sand and some filter press. Now the filter press is the waste that comes out of the gaisuku, when they process their cane, we have the filter press. But of course, this is not limited to a farmer might have some other organic matter that we want to use. But these materials that are available for us, I mean, the burnt paddy shell is something that the rice factory would throw. We're utilizing these materials. 3 of these components are waste, basically, so we're utilizing to grow our crops here. But of course, if you're in another location, you can use a lot more different organic matter, composting, all these farmyard manure could be incorporated, because they provide a lot of nutrients as well for a crop to grow. But this is what we have, and we're utilizing it. But of course, farmers could use what they have available. You don't need to go to gaisuku to look for filter press, but you have another materials that could provide nutrients for a crop to grow in your location. So you could utilize that. Our irrigation system is a network of pipes coming from our main source, that's our canal, and the canal water comes directly from the conservancy. Now what we have our small engine pump which powers about 6 shade houses at once. Now this system we have, the irrigation system in shade houses, could either be a drip system or the sprinkler system. It all depends on the crop type that you're dealing with at the time. Now what we recognize over the years is that lettuce, celery, and most of these leafy vegetables would prefer a sprinkler system. But when it comes to cauliflower, broccoli, sweet pepper, we will utilize the drip irrigation system. Now the advantages of the drip irrigation system, it means that it provides the required amount of water directly to the plant rooting zone. It drips directly to the plant rooting zone. However, with the sprinkler system, it gives a rain effect where the water would sprinkle and then it goes directly on the surface of the plant, the leaves, and then it trickles down to the root. Another advantage of using our drip system, the drip system we could actually utilize, that's the fertigation system, where an injector is set up where we prepare our nutrients and we turn on the injector system and it drips the nutrients directly to the rooting zone of the plant. So we don't need to go out and individually apply fertilizers to the crop. It happens directly through the drip system, and we have a lot of soluble fertilizers that are available which could be mixed in a solution and dripped into the system. However, with sprinkler system, we don't now have that luxury of applying fertilizer, but we could apply as a foliar application or through granule, that's the application of mixed fertilizer, the NPK that we normally apply. So with the drip system, the fertigation works perfectly. We just have to mix, so it saves time. So in order for you to manage a shade house or an area where we have 54 shade houses like we have here, it's easier to apply fertilizer through the drip system. Every crop requires a different nutritional management. So we carefully manage our crops based on what type of fertilizer we apply, when to apply, and how to apply it. With the fertigation system, there's only one way: it drips into the soil, and the plants would accept based on the drips that it goes directly to the rooting zone. Now each crop here, as I mentioned earlier, require different nutritional management, but of course with our mixture of soil, it doesn't contain much nutrients, so we need to replenish. And replenish, we have to put back the required nutrients, because every crop during their life cycle would have extracted some amount of nutrients, and once they would have extracted those nutrients, it means that you leave the substrate or leave the soil mixture with limited nutrients to sustainably grow crops. So we need to apply. Once we do that, well, then we're going to have a bountiful harvest where we have our crops grow, produce quality fruits on a sustainable way. Once you grow crops under shade house cultivation, one thing you must be prepared for is the incidence of pests and diseases. Now, pests and diseases could be managed using an integrated pest management approach system, where it incorporates the use of biologicals, use of trap crops, rotation cropping system, as well as repellent crops. Here we have on the farm, we have quite a few repellent crops where we practice the use of neem. Neem is one of our main repellent crops that we use here, where once we have our neem in the environment, it helps to repel most of the insects. However, having said that, we must have another approach where mint also used as an allelopathic plant, where it helps to reduce the incidence of pests and diseases. However, we utilize our most biologicals here. Let's say, for example, our cauliflower, we find that the diamondback moth is one of our major pests. So we try to use mainly the Bacillus thuringiensis, which is the biologicals to control the cauliflower, the pest in cauliflower, that's the diamondback moth. But we have over 16 types of cultivars here. And each cultivar has a specific or have specific pests that affect them. So it makes the control mechanism quite interesting, where we have to do a lot of rotation, where we apply different types of control. So our last resort here is the use of pesticides, the conventional pesticide. We try to use most of our organic based products that are available in the market to control most of our pests and diseases. But we do practice safe management of our pesticides, because most of our produce, actually all of our produce here, going to the hotels and supermarkets and other the municipal markets as well. So we don't want a problem with, we have the MRL level in these produce high. So we try to minimize the use of these conventional pesticides to control our pests and diseases. But our pests and diseases here on the farm is very much under control, because we practice a lot of rotation, crop rotation. Crop rotation gives us tremendous benefit, where we once we rotate a crop with another crop of a different family, it means that we removing the food that are available for that particular pest, and then we break the life cycle of these pests that may be affecting that particular crop. So the rotation helps a lot, and that's one of our major IPM strategy to control our pests and diseases. But it's very noticeable that in these areas, because the shade houses are pretty much open, you'll find that you have pests that will migrate now and again to another shade house, because we have 54 shade houses. They are clumped together, so you may find the incidence of pests and diseases regularly. But our strategy is quite robust, and we practice what works very much for us, and of course our produce are safe for the consumer, because we don't overuse on these conventional pesticides. Now, growing crops on the shade house, of course, has tremendous benefits. And some of the benefit includes the protection from the harsh weather. And we know that in Guyana, our conditions, sometimes we have high rainfall, we have extremely dry condition, and it persists for a period of time. And of course, those are conditions that we have limited control over. So shade house cultivation, of course, would help to protect our crop from these harsh weather conditions, being the high rainfall or the extremely high dry weather condition. Of course, it regulates the sunlight because of our plastic and the net that we have as the roof of the shade house, where it protects or it reduces the light intensity that affects crop directly. And it also helps in terms of the pest and disease management, because growing crop on the shade house creates an environment where crop would flourish and grow pretty well. Once you're in the open field, you're being affected by a whole host of pests and diseases. We found that on the shade houses, it's something that is manageable, and of course, once farmers or students or business persons who want to venture into shade house cultivation, they could actually, get some real benefits out of utilizing shade houses because of the management of pests and diseases. And of course, it increases the overall production and productivity and the quality of fruits coming out of shade house. Because if you are to compare a shade house cultivation with an open field, it obviously the quality of sweet pepper, for example, would be much enhanced under shade house cultivation as against the open field cultivation. And you have quite a lot more benefits. You improve on your plant health because, I mentioned earlier, because of climate change, we were able to grow crop all year round. When farmers or when persons who grow crop in the open field during those hot weather that we would have experienced a few months back, and of course now because of the high intensity of rainfall, we manage to keep growing crops on a sustainable manner. So these are tremendous benefits of having shade houses in your location, and of course as a business, because most farmers would want to have cash regularly. So shade house is one of the ways to go. It provides that opportunity, and of course it helps to stabilize the price on the market, because once you have crops growing in the open field, during those extremely high rainfall and dry period, you'll find that the prices of these fruits and vegetables will be very, very high in the market. But with shade house now, you can almost grow throughout the year. So it helps to provide the vegetables and fruits in the market, of course, and it helps to reduce the price as well, because once you have a scarcity, it means that the price will obviously go up. But if you can produce consistently, it means that you have that regular supply of fruits and vegetables in the market. So that helps to stabilize price and of course provide the required fruits and vegetables that the consumer would want to have on a yearly basis.
For more information on how you can access technical and other assistance from the National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute in the establishment of a shade house farm in your yard or farm, contact the Narei Extension Officer in your area.